Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our Matchmaker session today. My name is Hannah Elgersma, and I'm project coordinator for City Lab. Matchmaker events are where we learn more about the projects that have been submitted by our staff members and work with our faculty members to try and find good student, faculty, and staff partnerships to tackle these projects. So today we are joined by Dominic DeFlavio, project manager of transportation planning. Today he has brought forth a project to understand what current compliance with right-in, right-out rules are and how they can further increase traffic safety. So he'll add on to that. But first, Dominic, can you please just tell us a bit about your role at the city and how that work that you do impacts Hamiltonians?
Okay, thanks, Hannah. Yeah, as you say, I'm a project manager in transportation planning. What our group does here is review development applications. So anytime, anyone wants to build something like a high-rise apartment or a warehouse, we review those applications from a transportation engineering perspective, and we kind of impose conditions on the applicant that help to accommodate the site within the transportation network. So some of the things we might ask the applicant to do is pay for new signals at a nearby intersection, or to relocate their access from what they may have originally proposed, or in some cases we may ask them to restrict their access to a limited number of movements. Sometimes we ask them to, limit their access to right-in and right-out only, right-ins and right-out only. And again, this is all to, accommodate the site in the surrounding area, from a traffic perspective. So, yeah, that's it. That's what we do for Hamiltonians. We make sure that, all the sites are operating well from a transportation perspective, and not making congestion worse, or meeting all of our policy objectives as well, all our transportation policy objectives.
Wonderful. And so does your team accommodate the sites for all of Hamilton across all the wards? Yep,
all of Hamilton. So we basically our main guideline, our Bible is the official plan. So in Hamilton, there's two official plans: there's an urban official plan and a rural official plan. So depending on where the site is, we apply those guidelines. Right? So if a site obviously is downtown, that's the urban official plan, and if the site is, say, outside of Binbrook or something, then we apply the rural official plans.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But everywhere in Hamilton, yep.
Sorry?
Everywhere in Hamilton, yep. Every site, yep.
All right. So can you start as well by guiding us through the challenge, some of the relevant background information and objectives of this challenge?
This particular issue kind of came up. So right in, right out access is a type of access management, we call it. So like a site that has frontage, say, on a busy road, like what we call them arterial roads or major arterial roads, like a road like King Street, for example. Any site that has frontage on King Street and wants to have access onto King Street, we might want to limit to right-ins, right-outs, versus having them be able to turn, like have full movements, kind of thing, right? Like left turns might be dangerous at a particular location where it's fronting onto like a major road. So in those cases, we ask the applicant to limit their movements to right-ins, right-outs. Now, and the only way to enforce it really is to design the access so you make those movements, you make the movements that, like the prohibited movements, difficult to do, or impossible to do in some cases. So with a right-in, right-out, for example, you might get them to build like a triangular raised island in between the right-in portion of the driveway and the right-out portion of the driveway. So, obviously when a vehicle exits the site, they'll only be able to turn, well, their vehicle will be on the path to turn right. It'll be difficult to turn left, is what I'm saying. And then same for vehicles entering the site. That triangular island makes it harder for, or at least, disincentivizes them to turn left, right? Because there's that raised island there, they have to go around. The other way to restrict movements to right-ins, right-outs is to build a raised median island. So with a raised median island, it's not impossible, but obviously, you have to traverse a raised island to turn left in or to turn left out. So those are more effective from our perspective, but they're also more expensive and sometimes prohibitively expensive because you have to widen the road. Applicants don't like to do that. Obviously, they would rather do something less costly, obviously. But the problem is with the island type of right-in, right-out driveways is they're not as effective, obviously, as the median islands. And we don't know to what degree they are as ineffective, to the point that our manager has now almost put a moratorium on those triangular island right-in, right-out types of access, because we've been getting so many complaints of non-compliance, either from the public or even from internal staff, like from our transportation operations staff, saying that they're not effective. People are not, people are still turning left in and out, around the triangular island. So the only almost 100% effective way to do it is the raised median. But like I said, it's a lot more costly, and in some cases almost prohibitively costly. So, but again, like I said, we're not sure what the compliance rate is. So that's the purpose of this study, is to actually go out and try to observe what the compliance rates are for some of these treatments, some of these, triangular island designs. And we do have quite a few examples that exist right now in Hamilton and the city. So we want to get an idea of what the compliance rates are, and then take that information and decide whether or not to just abandon right-in, right-outs, like using the triangular island, or maybe apply them in certain cases, like in certain environments, for example. Maybe perhaps the compliance rates are higher, where the volumes are less, or where the lane configuration on the road is 2 lanes versus 4 lanes, whatever the case might be. So those are the kind of thing. That's the kind of information that we're hoping to obtain from these studies.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think that's quite clear. So it's you're looking to actually do a study where students can go out and actually take information of how many cars are complying with this these features, and you have specific examples of spots that you'd be interested to collect that data from in the city?
Yep. I'd like to be able to get some more. Now, I don't know if that could be, if we can roll that in with the study as well. And the other thing is obviously with like observations and statistics and things like that. I probably need a little bit of help with, you know, like sample sizes, and I know what the typical like sample sizes are for traffic studies, but you know, maybe we can refine those, or you know, or even have a discussion about, you know, what you know, how many studies to do, you know, how many vehicles to observe, or how much time to spend making observations, things like that. So
as of right now, is there research that your team does in terms of compliance, and how has that been collected, if there is any research that you're already doing?
our team specifically does not do compliance research. We have like we've had students do like parking utilization studies, and you know, like traffic generation studies, but we haven't done compliance studies. I know that those kind of studies are done by another group in the city, like the transportation operations staff do those kind of studies. But in this case, because this this type of like facility, we'll call it like this right in, right out, you know, access facility, is more our domain, like what I do and what our group does. I think it's, yeah, I think it would be more appropriate for us to do those compliance studies. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what would sorry, how do I word this? What would your team then use the information for? That would be, would it be applied to the policies that you have one day that inform how you navigate these, or how you build the roads and turns right in, right out, or to not use it? Like, would that be directly applied to the policy you use for building?
Yeah, we might even take the information and write it into our policy. But I think initially we're going to use that just to inform like decisions for us, like just to inform us on a site, like will a right in, right out with a triangular island, raised island be appropriate for this site, or will if we apply it to this site, will nobody like comply, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably mainly we're going to be using the information for. It's just to inform our own decisions. But like I said, we may end up, you know, actually writing it into policy somewhere, like writing for TIS guide. We have guidelines for like studies, like. We get developers to do studies as well, and we could write those in our guidelines. Or who knows, maybe we can write it into you know, our official plan.
Cool. And yes, that I imagine that might take time. And first, it's seeing what kind of information can be gathered in the time the students can work on this. And so do you have a desire of how many sites you would like to be visited, and the scope of how much research you're looking for? Or is that something that's negotiable, we can work through?
Yeah, you know what, I'm hoping maybe we can kind of either maybe like if time permitting, like I think about it and come up with something, but I would like to have you know, like a number of like
Mhm.
observation sites. But I'd also like to look, because there are variations in the right in, right out triangular island design, like so, because like there's right in, right out, but there you can limit, you can have different movements as well. Like you can have left ins, you can have right in, right out, and left ins, or you can have right in, right out, left out onlys. And then you can have triangular islands that they're not raised, but they're delineated with those knockdown sticks, if you've ever seen any of those. Or sometimes they're just delineated by pavement markings. Those are probably, I'm guessing, you could probably guess too, that those would be the least effective. But I'd like to, get a variation of the design, and I'd like to get a decent sample size as well. But again, there's only a limited number of right in, right out, driveways in the city. Like so far, I think I've actually I've bookmarked like about 10 of them.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to again, maybe we can either roll it into the study, or I could do it myself and try to find some more examples. But again, yeah, we might just have to work with what we have. So.
All right. And then what are the specific deliverables you are looking for from the students? You've already touched on this, but I'm hearing research and then sort of research recommendations.
Yeah, research recommendations.
Yeah.
All bundled up in a report, I guess.
Yeah.
So the report would be like, the main deliverable, but like, I think you may have implied that we can add to those deliverables, like maybe even add a design, like a design, like a standard design for a right in, right out driveway.
Yep.
I know other municipalities have standard designs. And Hamilton does not. So
okay, interesting.
even if we can come up with a concept or like a prototype that that we can kind of refine later or something, and who knows, yeah. Maybe what results from this could be a standard design for right in, right out, triangular island.
Yeah.
For private driveways. That'll be awesome.
Wonderful.